This time on Rad Rat Video, we're talking about who I could take in a game of skate. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel about skateboarding in all of its forms. I play skateboarding video games, I answer your questions, I talk about math stuff with regards to skateboarding, I wear a shirt with my own face on it, and let's get started with today's questions. The first one is from Corey through Patreon, who said, you mentioned in the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 review that they should make Tony Hawk 6. How would you design the game? Arcade style like the old ones or story-based? Would you make a combination of the two? Also, what special tricks would you give to your character? I did answer that special trick question a couple months ago, I think, maybe 3 or 4. I don't remember though, so I came up with new ones. I would be a semi-flip, which is already in Tony Hawk, and a Casper flip, which I think was also in maybe the earlier ones. Those would be my special tricks. But I'll answer your first part now. How would I design Tony Hawk 6? I've got some notes. In the remake of Pro Skater 1 and 2, it seemed like that game was really short for a modern, like, full price game, which it was not. But like, I can't imagine Tony Hawk 6 would come out for a budget price. I would imagine it would be a full price, like full AAA type of game. And I can't imagine it would be arcade style only, because it's too quick. You can just burn right through that game. You can beat that entire game in like a half hour or so. Of course, I've played the games enough where I know where stuff is, but even so, if you can beat the game in a couple of hours, it doesn't feel great to pay full price for that. So I can't imagine that Pro Skater 6 would be anything but story-based, but I would want it to be very lightly story-based, and I would want it to be ridiculous. So the idea I came up with is like, the Earth is invaded, and the only way that we can fight back against the aliens is to blow their minds by doing really cool tricks, like actually blow their minds. Like their heads would explode when you see this cool thing, this cool way that I just flipped my board or something like that. And you could frame the whole game around that type of thing, where you have to fight back by doing this, or let's help the army build like a big barrier against, the spaceship by grinding on this thing, which is going to move all these things over. It would be something like that. All the Tony Hawk games, all the good ones, the stories are really ridiculous and over the top and silly and full of lots of jokes. So I would definitely want something like that, where like an alien attack is happening and you can only stop them with skateboarding. I would want that. But all of the challenges would be classic arcade type of stuff. You'd have some high scores, you'd have collect this type of thing, you would have all the traditional Tony Hawk stuff in this game. That's the biggest thing that I would want. I wouldn't want them to try to do something new, but I would be scared. Well, I would want some of the challenges to be new. I just wouldn't want the whole framework to be new. The later PS2 era games were good, but they went too deep into the story, I think, and too light on the challenges. Like sometimes it would just be like, you'd watch this long cutscene of this guy talking about something, and then you would just grind this, and then another cutscene, and then you go grind that thing, and then another cutscene, and then you would have to get a high score, and it would just get really boring. So they would have to add some new types of things to get the game to be enough length, enough content in it without being too stupid. So I think it would be really, really tough to do. It's hard to picture what that would even be like if they were to make like a full-length game that has a lot of really good stuff that isn't padded too much. I think it's possible. I hope they do it, although I'm a little scared of if they do. If it comes out that Tony Hawk 6 is about to come out, I'm going to be a little bit nervous. But I hope they try it, and I hope they put some budget into it and get some really good people in there who are going to do it justice. But I don't really trust them. I don't really trust Activision like that. All right. Next question is from Linus the Cat, who says, do you think deck graphics affect the ability to flip and catch flip tricks? For example, if a deck graphic is mainly black, do you think your mind will get confused with the color and think it's the grip tape? If the deck graphic is bright, then do you think that your mind will help see that it's the deck and catch the flip tape? Okay, so I have had that happen. So yes, I do definitely think that. I had a board that was dark. It was like a silver, but like when the light didn't catch it, it just looked dark gray, And so it was just like black on both sides, basically, and if it was kind of darkish. And if you have black trucks and all that kind of stuff, when the board is halfway through, it's hard to tell. So like, when do you commit to this trick? If you're doing a 360 flip, did it actually come around right? It is kind of hard to tell. So I do think that's a problem, and that was the way that I used to pick graphics back, when I first started. I would, I would get blanks often, but a blank is just wood colored, so it's pretty bright. But I would often, if I was going to pick out a graphic, I would pick one that was really brightly colored, and that was why I did it. But with that one board that was dark, I cut in some stripes on the grip, and the top ply was bright. So there was like a pattern there. And I think it's interesting. Like, when you're learning tricks and you don't have it all like locked, because if you can do a 360 flip every time, I can put any board on you, and you're not actually focusing on like watching it come around. You're just doing it by touch. If it felt right, you're good, and you can commit and you can do it. But as you learn tricks, I do think that's kind of important. I don't know how big of a deal it is, but I would always pick like a really high contrast board. Or you could get a dark board and really bright grip tape if you wanted to. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's important, but I do feel the same way as you. All right, next question is from Leo, who says, been watching your vids for a while and wanted to know the significance of the boards in the back of your videos. Thanks. Okay. There are 3. One has no significance. The other one, start over here. This is by Red F Skateboards, and so I made a video about carbon fiber. Like this one does not have it, but they do have a board that has some in there. And so they sent me some boards. The stuff that's back here in general has no meaning. It's just like boards that I have that I haven't skated yet. And these will be here for a long time because I've been very injured for basically the whole year with my knee. I haven't skated much at all, at least since the spring. And so I do have this other board, quasi board, that's right off camera. Yeah, these are here because they're fresh, new looking skateboards, and they look kind of nice. And I will eventually use them, hopefully, if I ever recover at all. All right, this one, is just a cool graphic that I had. This one I thought was cool. I skated this a while ago. This one is kind of old, but I just thought the graphic was super cool, and so I put it there. It's Sovereign. I don't know what they're called. I picked it out by random. I liked the graphic. It was a good board, and so it's here because it still looks kind of cool. And I put this hat on it because I have patches in my store and I want to show that off. So that's what that's for. This one is from Quasi as well, like the one that's off camera. Is this the same board? I don't know. But yeah, so I worked with them. They put out a video with Vans called Grand Prairie, which is right here. Is that even on camera? No, I don't think so. Oh, was it just holding that up? Called Grand Prairie, which they gave me a physical VHS tape copy of from Quasi. And so they had me in their video. They had me watch it and just talk about it. And they used some of my video in a promo. And so when that was done, they sent me some shoes, they sent me some boards. So again, I just have some fresh new boards that I could use, but for now they're just sitting here. So that's it. There's no specific meaning that you can glean from like the secret way that I placed them or anything like that. But that's all there is to that. Next question is from YOLO Steez Boy, who says, if you could be somehow transported into the game, I'm talking prime Rad Rat here, from the OG list of pro skaters in Tony Hawk 1, who do you think you could take in a game of skate? I'm going to give you a real answer. No, it's all a real answer, but just hang in there for a second, because the real answer is Private Carrera, who is a full-time officer in the Navy, and her bio implies that she's an adult film star as well. She's got 2 careers going. What are the chances she's also really good, like pro skateboarder? Kind of low. Officer Dick, of course, who, you know, he's a cop. He's out doing stuff. He's chasing donuts or, you know, stuff cops do. So he's probably not keeping his tricks locked. And maybe even Spider-Man, because although he's got super quick, you know, reflexes and he can move and all that stuff, he's real busy. So, like, can he do every shove it in every stance first try? Probably not. Like, he can learn it real quick, but I don't think so. But if I had to pick an actual skateboarder, like a real life pro skateboarder from that game, because those were cheating answers, it's possible if I played Tony Hawk 10 times in a game of skate, I might beat him once from that era, because he put out a trick tip, like it was a 3-volume series of trick tips. And he would teach stuff on ramps, of course, but he would also do all the flat ground stuff. And he wasn't that great at it. Like, he would do stuff, and, you know, the clip that they chose in the video, the board was bouncing off the ground and it looked kind of weird. He's an amazing skateboarder, obviously. But if I played him flat ground only skate a few times, I think I could pull out the win at least once. Especially if we were going by normal skate, you know, where there's no specifics. You know, when they started to do them at the barracks, they came up with all these different things, and your foot can never touch the ground, you can never do grabs, all that type of stuff. Before that happened, there were no real, like, firm things that you weren't allowed to do in skate. So I could do like a no comply trick. I could do like a, you know, something weird. And I know enough obscure, weird tricks that I could potentially pull out a win against Tony Hawk. It's not necessarily that likely, but I think it's possible. And me in my prime would probably be like 2009 or 2010 or so. Like, put that guy against 2000, 2001 Tony Hawk. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. The other skater that came to mind is not in a Tony Hawk game, but it's Josh Casper. I made a video about him. I think it's called like Josh Casper Only Knows 7 Tricks or something like that. Because if you watch his old parts, he would only do the same few tricks over and over and over. Be like front, tail, kick flip, pop shove it. You know, like he would only do these few tricks. And he did them really well. He did huge gaps with those tricks. But if you were to just watch his part and write down what the trick was, it would only be a couple different tricks over and over and over in different combinations and stuff. So, like, it seemed to me at the time, and I don't know the guy, I never met him, I don't know what his skating was like off camera, but it really seemed like he could only do a few tricks. So if I were to put myself at my prime up against him in the 90s, him in the 90s, me in my prime, because that seems like what your question was, there's a chance. And if I could do freestyle, then they're all in trouble. There would be a handful of pros who could beat me in freestyle. But but that's, again, just for the sake of obscurity. Like, most people who skate don't know how to do a Casper just on flat. You know, you can just you can roll and like tip the board over and push back and just do a Casper and pull it. You know, like, easy. Anyone could learn it pretty quickly. But if you have to do it first try in a game of skate, you probably wouldn't be able to do it. So if I could do a freestyle game of skate, I could beat a lot of pros in my prime. But yeah, so those were the only names I could come up with. I was never all that good. I would have to work with my tools, which would be weird, obscure stuff. But that's it for now. Thanks for your questions. If you have one of your own, go to radratvideo.com and you could submit it there. I have some stuff for sale on there, like the cool patch that's on that hat. And I have a second store that has different types of t-shirts and stuff on there too. You can always sponsor me on Patreon or by hitting the join button here on YouTube and support the channel that way. But that's it for now. I will see you next time, and thanks for hanging out.